Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Guys, in this video, we're going to be going over some off-chain and on-chain analytics to really suggest that Bitcoin has never been in such a strong position. I mean, for goodness sake, we literally have an entire country that have come out and legalized it as legal tender. This is the first of many, in my opinion, certainly when we look at countries that are in a similar situation to El Salvador. We're going to be going over a lot in this video. We're going to be looking at Plan B. We're going to be looking at Willy Woo. We're going to be looking at the fact that across the board, accumulation has not stopped regardless of this price drop that we are seeing in the cryptocurrency market. Of course, we're going to be going and looking at Bitcoin, which right now, guys, is pretty much holding on to this ledge. You guys know that I have previously said that this is the bottom. We've kind of stuck to that and been right so far. Doesn't mean we're going to continue to be right. I just can't really see Bitcoin going much lower than what it already has for a number of reasons. One, for example, is the RSI. Every time, and this is exactly what I treated this as, every time you get down below this 30 mark on your RSI, this tends to be a good indication that you've bottomed and you're about to start to recover. Certainly that was true the last time back in March, and it's typically how things go in regards to the RSI getting that low. So we are watching Bitcoin very, very closely, but really what I want to share with you on this video is a number of kind of metrics to suggest that, you know, Bitcoin is still bullish. There are still people continuing to accumulate. You know, there are big companies and institutions still accumulating, such as MicroStrategy. Here you have MicroStrategy has purchased an additional 13,005 Bitcoin for 489 million in cash at an average price of 37,000. So they are significantly down on their Bitcoin right now, but it really goes to show you the commitment and the belief that somebody like Michael Saylor and the team at MicroStrategy have in this project. You know, they currently have 105,000 Bitcoin acquired for $2.7 billion at an average price of $26,000. So they are still massively in the profits. Lots of people are essentially saying, oh, this has just popped up, we'll quickly touch on this. Lots of people are saying that he's being reckless. I think he understands the fact that the US dollar is a perpetual short, and something like Bitcoin is going to maintain its value significantly better than just holding that 2.7 billion on the balance sheet. If you also look at MicroStrategy as a company, they've done very well off Bitcoin. Let's see what this is that's just popped up. So he's just released this. We're going to go into some more. I just thought we'd cover this as it came up as I'm recording this video. In the last 12 months, Bitcoin has arrived on Wall Street. That is the news. The rest is noise. With today's listing of Bitfarm on the Nasdaq, Bitcoin makes new headlines in Times Square. Yeah, so we know that there is a mining farm that has essentially been allowed to list on the Nasdaq, which of course is heavily regulated by the SEC. The SEC are kind of being very timid in regards to regulating the space. Somewhere like China, which we know, you know, this is the third biggest bank in China, have essentially said they're going to shut down anybody's account that has any kind of dealings with crypto and report them to the authority. Let me just say this and make this very clear in regards to China. It's not a bad thing necessarily. It's a bad thing for the individual citizens of China, and you need to make sure that you distinguish them from their government. The Chinese people are a great, hospitable, loving, very cultured people. The Chinese government, however, are communistic, very totalitarian, and ultimately they were never going to allow their citizens to have a currency that they didn't have a control over. They don't even allow them to view the internet freely. So it's kind of to be expected. It's a good and bad thing for crypto. We're seeing the kind of negative side of it right now in regards to the price. However, it's good for Bitcoin and its network. We know the hash rate actually nearly dropped by about 50%. This is really going to distribute that hash rate, because there was a big concern about the fact that the hash rate's really quite centralized in proportion. China has a lot of it. We're going to talk about a number of things, like I say in this video. This is Ethereum. Now, Ethereum's top non-exchange wallets continue to accumulate, owning the most Ethereum since 2016. This is the price in green, and this is in yellow, the amount that these guys are accumulating. It's just continually going up, and this is what we're seeing across the board, guys. This is Plan B, who essentially famously came up with this stock-to-flow model. Bitcoin is below 24, triggered by Elon Musk, energy FUD, and China's mining crackdown. There is also a more fundamental reason that we see weakness in June and possibly July. My worst case scenario for 2021 price / on-chain base. August at 47k, September at 43k, October at 63k, November at 98, December at 135. Now we said Bitcoin essentially is going to get to around about 160k by the end of this cycle. It doesn't have to be by the end of this year. It could go into next year. We don't know how this cycle is going to play out. We're already seeing distinctive differences, such as the severity of this sell-off being unorthodox for a 2017 style party, essentially. He also goes on here and he's discussing the fact that 60% of Bitcoin sold in May and June, which is really what caused this crash, was newly accumulated. And a lot of these people sold at a loss. 40% was bought earlier and sold at profit. But the vast majority of Bitcoin sold here was actually sold at a loss that caused this sell-off. So that says a lot, guys. That says that it's not the traditional hodlers. And this actually is a good thing. Bitcoin distribution looks a lot healthier now. Absolutely. You know, with that flush out of those whales, the coins are essentially getting eaten up by people like me and yourselves, the people that actually have a fundamental belief in what's trying to be achieved here. He also goes and talks about the death crosses here. We've spoken about it ourselves and we said it doesn't really mean that much. Study this chart to see what happened the last two times the death cross hit Q4 2018 and Q1 2013. You can see these death crosses have happened time and time again, guys, and they've really not meant anything. All it really means, if you're trying to short this market on a death cross, is you're already late to the party. You should have been shorting it well before. Remember that moving averages, the 50 and the 200, are lagging indicators. So I use EMAs just because they're a little bit, so this is an EMA I've got here just because they're a little bit less laggy. What else have we got for you? What I'm really trying to do here, guys, is I know that people get worried, and it is, as somebody who makes YouTube videos now on this, and as somebody who's heavily involved in the crypto space, I have to keep second guessing myself and saying, look, could I be wrong? Could we go lower? We absolutely could, but the bias that I am sticking to, and I'm going to continue to stick to until I get proven otherwise, which could happen, is that this was the bottom for Bitcoin and you are going to recover in a similar way to what you did in March. The RSI certainly looks very similar. And there are a number of other indicators to suggest that, like the on and off chain metrics that we're going over. So this is Willy Woo. Twitter, by the way, guys, is one of the best places to acquire information because it comes to you in a kind of shortened version. So he puts, yes, unfortunately it is a bear market. He's just being completely sarcastic here. We should all panic sell. Traders tell us there's two moving averages that just crossed and carry the name death. It sounds scary. He's spot on there. That sums up the crypto market so well. Also, you got to remember, guys, you are involved, if you're in the crypto space, in the most volatile asset class that there is, period. If you can't handle the heat, you shouldn't be in the kitchen. This is how it goes, guys. And take this from somebody who's been here since 2017, went through the crash, which was a good experience and really, you know, was a baptism of fire into this space and is allowing me to sit relatively comfy right now. Of course, nobody likes to see their portfolio sell off, certainly by about 50%. But I have such a strong belief, and like I say, remember, I could be wrong, guys, but I do believe this. I'm not just saying this for the purposes of this video, in blockchain technology and some of the projects that have came out of it. You know, I think it's akin to the internet and some of the stocks that came out of that. So Willy Woo, let's take a look at what he's user growth as strong as ever on the network. So this is the entity's net growth and the price. So the price goes down, the users just go up, guys. It's the same all around. If you look at something called Metcalfe's law, it essentially dictates that price and users price and the network effect are very, very heavily correlated. That is true. You are getting continuous growth in terms of the users. Here's another one. Shrimps are taking their lead in stacking like there's no tomorrow, especially in the latest dip. So you can see here, and this is how you know these markets are manipulated, because the retail are buying, meanwhile it's getting shorted and selling off. This market is so manipulated, and there's an age-old game here of the rich staying rich and the poor staying poor going on here. You can see here, supply held by entities with 0.1 to 10% only of a Bitcoin has gone through the roof. Meanwhile, the price has gone down. So it's getting distributed. The more of a distribution effect happens, the stronger Bitcoin becomes, because it will then be people like me and yourselves holding it that believe in the project, and not whales that are just here to manipulate and FOMO everybody. And that's when we really see the explosive price movement. You've got to remember as well, the majority of Bitcoin is illiquid. That was true during this sell-off. It's not like the majority of Bitcoin was sold. That's far from the truth. It's a very small number of Bitcoin in the grand scheme of things that was actually sold here. Remember that, guys. This is how markets work. You can leverage them. You don't need a lot to move markets. That's why if you ever, and I've never done it on Bitcoin because I have nowhere near the kind of cash to do that. But if I've gone into smaller projects with, let's say, tens of millions, and I've tried to sell, you will literally watch, if you put a big enough order in, liquidity kind of dry up, and you having a literal effect on the price. So markets are a weird and wonderful place, I guess. So that's really it from Willy Woo. There's loads of other. So he uses Glassnode a lot, which I think you've got to pay for. I'm not going to pay for it. I'll just look at this guy's Twitter feed for free because I'm a cheapskate. But yeah, so the point that I'm trying to make with this, and hopefully I've made it very clear, is there is a lot of on-chain and off-chain data to suggest that Bitcoin is still bullish despite this recent sell-off, and that this really, the China FUD, we know what they're all about. We know what the Chinese government, people don't understand that Google, Facebook are everything is banned in China. Essentially everything that the government don't control is banned in China. They were of course going to ban Bitcoin, and absolutely they were going to ban people from helping to run the Bitcoin network in the form of mining it. We said in yesterday's video we didn't like the look of the total 2 chart. It's proven to come to fruition, but until we get below these wicks, guys, then we'll have to sort of renegotiate things and say, hang on, this is, we're going to have to take another look at everything until we sell below really 31k, which we're not far off from, guys, to be honest with you. Then we're going to take another look at things. But the market cap sold off considerably. But guys, if you look at the RSI typically and what's going on, not on a 4 hourly because that's just all over the place. You can see that when you're in this half and when you're in this sort of bracket, it's usually a good buying opportunity. If you could have got in here, that would have been perfect. Let's take a look on the weekly. Yeah, every time you get below here on the RSI, below this sort of halfway mark, around about 50, it's usually historically been a good buying opportunity. That's not financial advice, just my opinion. Bitcoin's got a lot to do. It still needs to come above this 20 EMA. How it does that is really anybody's guess, but I think we're going to get there. So overall, I am still bullish. Call me crazy on the crypto space. I think that this is an emerging market. We have on this channel looked at other emerging markets, such as stocks that were involved in the dot-com boom and thereafter in the emerging market that came after the dot-com boom that involved all these stocks like Amazon, Dell, Microsoft, Apple, etc., etc. They were volatile. They were going up and down, 60%, 70% sell-offs. We looked at all that. This is sort of what to expect in an emerging market. And ultimately, what you really need to be doing in times like these, guys, is bouncing back on the fundamentals. Why are you in Bitcoin? Well, let me give you a couple of reasons off the top of my head why I'm in Bitcoin. One, I don't trust the government with monetary policy. It was Ludwig von Mises that said the government are the only people capable of taking a perfectly valuable commodity such as paper and making it worthless. We see that with governments throughout the world. I also think that Bitcoin is going to hedge against that, and I believe in a fairer system for everybody. I believe that the financial system that we already have only really benefits a few and not the many. I think Bitcoin is a sound form of money that doesn't continue to change its goalposts. We know where we're at with it. We know the supply. There are 1,000,001 reasons, guys, but that is really all I have for you in this video. I just thought I'd show you a number of these and touch on it and just remind you, people are still buying, people are still accumulating. There's infrastructure, Grayscale adding new coins. There's infrastructure being put in all over the place. Wall Street getting into it. You've never had so much institutional interest. The SEC are kind of backing off. They even said they were going to do like a survey on whether they think they should allow an ETF. It's all coming, guys. You're just going to have to go through a bit of a pain to get there. Remember, I could be wrong. None of this is financial advice, all just my own opinion, but I thought you guys may find it interesting. On that note, I hope everybody is having a fantastic Monday. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. If you've enjoyed the video, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. and hopefully you should all subscribe, and I'll see you on the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye.